The southwest monsoon has been battering the Philippines for weeks now, and floods and landslides are happening everywhere. Today is no different. The rain continues to fall, and according to the weather forecast, it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. Guys, good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Onad. I currently work and live here in Metro Manila. Today is another rainy day, but instead of staying inside, why not head out and explore the neighborhood and see if we can find anything interesting even in this bad weather. During a rainy day in the Philippines, one thing that might surprise you is that many people would actually come out to play in the rain instead of just staying inside. And it's not just children, but people of all ages. Often, you'll see them out on the road, running around as if they're not bothered by the rain at all. I used to do the same thing when I was a kid, so I know the feeling. How about in your country? Do you do this when it rains? Or is this just a Filipino thing? Let me know down in the comments. During the rainy season, almost everything and everyone is affected. Here in Metro Manila, rain isn't just a change in the weather. Depending on how heavy it gets, it can affect your entire day. Classes get suspended, government offices may close, events get cancelled, and people who had plans suddenly have to stay home. And for those of us who still need to go to work, the rain can turn an ordinary day into a chaotic one. For regular workers, getting to the office can become much more difficult. You're not only dealing with the rain itself, but also the traffic that comes with it. A commute that normally takes 30 minutes can suddenly take an hour, 2 hours, or sometimes even longer. And the worst part is when the streets start flooding. You might leave home thinking, it's just raining, I'll probably be fine. But then you reach a certain part of your route and suddenly there's water everywhere. Now you have to figure out how you're going to get across. Do you take a different route? Do you wait for the water to go down? Do you risk walking through it? Or do you just turn around and go home? And if you're commuting by public transportation, you don't always have a choice. You might already be standing at a bus stop or jeepney terminal, waiting for a ride that may not come for another 30 minutes or even an hour. Then, when the vehicle finally arrives, it may be already full, or you're competing with everyone else who is also trying to get somewhere before the rain gets worse. This is one of the things that can be frustrating about living in a huge urban area like Metro Manila. On a normal day, you already have to deal with traffic and long commutes. Add heavy rain to the equation, and everything becomes more unpredictable. Even a short trip can become an adventure. And for some workers, there is another problem that doesn't get talked about as much. What happens when you simply can't make it to work? Here's the harsh reality. Not every company will necessarily care that you were stranded because of flooding. From the company's perspective, they need people to show up and do their jobs. But from the employee's perspective, sometimes there's simply no way to get there. You could leave your house early. You could plan your route. You could check the traffic. You could even leave hours before your shift. But if the roads are flooded or public transportation is suspended, there isn't much you can do. And depending on the company and its policies, missing work can still have consequences. Of course, this isn't the case for every company. Some employers are more flexible, especially when there are serious weather conditions. Some allow employees to work from home. Others give employees more flexibility with their working hours. But not everyone has that option. There are plenty of workers whose jobs require them to physically be there. Factory workers, security guards, restaurant employees, hospital staff, construction workers, delivery riders, drivers, retail workers, and many others. For these people, working from home isn't really an option. And that brings us to another group that is heavily affected by the rain: small businesses and street vendors. If you make your living from people walking past your stall, then bad weather can be devastating. Imagine spending the entire morning preparing your food, buying ingredients, setting up your stall, and paying for transportation just to open your business. Then the rain starts. People disappear from the streets. Customers who normally walk past your stall are now staying inside. Maybe you still manage to sell a few things, but your usual foot traffic is gone. And unlike an office worker who still gets a salary at the end of the day, a small vendor can lose an entire day's income. For some people, that can make a real difference. You can see this especially around areas where vendors depend heavily on commuters. On a normal day, there might be hundreds of people walking around. Someone buys breakfast, someone buys coffee, someone grabs a snack, someone buys lunch before going to work. But when heavy rain comes, suddenly there are far fewer customers. And the vendor still has expenses. The ingredients still cost money. Transportation still costs money. Rent, electricity, and other expenses don't stop just because it is raining. So, while some of us might look at the rain and think, well, I guess I'll just stay home today, for someone else, staying home might mean not earning anything. And this is one of the things I find interesting about rainy days here in the Philippines. You start to notice how differently people experience the same weather. For someone working from home, rain can actually be nice. You can stay inside, make yourself some coffee, sit near the window, and listen to the rain. It can almost feel relaxing, but for someone who has to commute to work, that same rain can be stressful. For a delivery rider, it means working in wet clothes while dealing with slippery roads. For a street vendor, it can mean fewer customers. For a construction worker, it may mean losing a day's work. For a parent, it can mean suddenly having to arrange childcare because classes were suspended. And for students, well, sometimes it's simply a surprise day off. I remember when I was a kid, a class suspension because of heavy rain felt like the best news ever. You'd wake up, check if classes were suspended, and suddenly you had an unexpected day off. But as you get older, you start seeing the other side of it. A suspension might be good news for students, but someone still has to deal with the consequences. Another thing about rainy days in Metro Manila is that the weather doesn't always have to be extreme for problems to start. Sometimes it doesn't even look that bad from where you're standing. It's just steady rain. But after an hour or two, you might start seeing water accumulate on the roads. Then suddenly, traffic slows down. Vehicles start moving bumper to bumper. And before you know it, you suddenly can't get a ride, whether you're trying to get to work or get back home. So, what do you think? If you were visiting the Philippines during the rainy season, would you still dare to explore when it's raining? Would you walk around the neighborhood just to experience a different side of Metro Manila? And do you think you could handle the flooding, the traffic, and the unpredictable commute? Alright, before we wrap up this video, I'm going to head back and cook something for lunch since it's already noon. For today's lunch, I'm going to try making chop suey. I'll just saute the garlic and onion. Once the meat turns brown, I'll add a bit of soy sauce. Then I'll add some water, cover it, and let it boil. After that, I'll add the vegetables. Followed by the cornstarch slurry. Then I'll cover it again and let everything cook. Now I'll add the carrots and broccoli that I pre-boiled earlier. Finally, I'll season it with some salt and pepper. I think I messed this one up though. There was too little meat, not enough slurry, and I also forgot to add some ingredients like oyster sauce. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.